When Bertrand Gachot had his altercation with a London taxi driver and you were looking for a driver for the Belgian Grand Prix, was it Schumacher you were interested in, or was it the German Deutschmarks that were coming with him from Mercedes-Benz?
I'm not sure I knew how to spell his name, and I hadn't got the slightest interest in Michael Schumacher. And if you told me his name was Johnny Forbes, then that's what it was. I didn't care. I just cared about the team survival. And I needed the money. Mercedes through Sauber had 150 to pay me per race to keep him in the seat.
$150,000.
Dollars, yeah. It's very significant.
And that money came through Sauber, do you say?
Yeah, well, I'm not even at liberty to say it came from Mercedes. Of course it came from Mercedes, because Peter Sauber wasn't paying it, was he? And so we can all fool ourselves. So I suppose, going back before that, there was a great legend of a man called Gert Kramer, and he had been pushing me, Eddie, you might have a seat. If you have a seat, you've got to look at this guy, Michael Schumacher, he's the business. And I'm kind of bored with this altogether. I said, look, Gert, go away, tell me what budget he has, and then I'll think about it. But, please don't keep telling me how good he is. Tell me how much he's got. I mean, that's how brutal it is. So we did that. And, yeah, the rest is history. Michael became a big star. I did well.
Why didn't he become a big star with you? What happened there?
Well, it's clear. Bernie knew that I wouldn't make it to the end of the season. Probably no different. He could have been listening to the guys from Vickers and the guys from Ford, but didn't have to be Einstein to work it out. We were a bunch of Irish chancers, chancing our arm, chancing our luck, and seeing what happens. And we tossed a coin, and it came up in our favour. We got lucky. There's no question about it.
But Bernie wanted Michael Schumacher more than he wanted Jordan Grand Prix.
Simply he wanted Michael Schumacher because he came to Spa. Suddenly he looks at the receipts from Spa and he has 20,000 people extra on the gate at Spa because Corpen, where he lived, was just across the border. And suddenly a German interest in Formula One. Bernie just suddenly then realised, hey, I need a German driver now, I've got to find him a seat. So he rang up Flavio and he told Flavio to put him in the car. Flavio said, Bernie, sorry, mind your own business, go away. I'm putting Nelson Piquet in the car. He said, what? So he wanted Nelson Piquet. Tom Walkinshaw, who was also there, he wanted Brundle. And Bernie got them together, including me, and cracked all our heads together. I got a few quid out of letting Michael go. Flavio was told that he had to get rid of, to make a seat available, and Brundle didn't get to drive. So that's how Michael Schumacher wound up in Benetton. It's clear. Bernie Ecclestone instigated that. He created that. No matter what anyone else tells you, that's what happened.
So it's nothing to do with the contract. You got a few quid out of it, and therefore you were prepared to let him go. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I did fight it in the court, where I think was very lucky. I lost a court case in Britain.
On what grounds?
On the grounds that we could not withhold the person's right to be able to make a living. The judge was very clear. He was very sympathetic towards the situation, and he understood that I was trying to protect the team. But he realised that to find another driver, and we had spare drivers or whatever it was, shouldn't be a problem. Whereas traditionally, you cannot stop somebody the right to earn their living, irrespective of how much that may be. Anyway, the injunction failed. And then that night, I was in my mind thinking, my God, what's going to happen? Just forget it. We've lost it. Move on. And then I thought of another little, I won't call it a scam, but I rang up Roberto Moreno, who had won the Formula 3000 championship with Gary Anderson, who was our designer at Jordan. And I said, look, Roberto, it's simple. And I don't want to mince my words here, but you're out. And I'm telling you, it's best that you know this, because you're going to be replaced by Michael Schumacher, because they're not going to replace Nelson Piquet, and you're going to be out of a drive. They're going to offer you some money, I'm sure. But I have a solution. Would you be happy to be part of that, because you're going to have to make the application? And I explained to him that he needed to go with an Italian lawyer and place an injunction in the Italian courts prohibiting Benetton from selling off his seat. In other words, protecting him and his contract to his rightful right to drive that car for the remainder of the season. And what do you think happened? The Italian judge approved the injunction, so now Benetton had a choice. They could never run 3 cars, because they're not allowed to, so they had to come to Roberto and me for a deal. And so that made me happy in the end, because they, to see them squirm a little bit was fun, because they made me squirm, and it was our own little way, so we got paid out of it a little bit, some compensation. And as it happened, Roberto Moreno drove that race for us. Tom, you're squeezing all these information from me. I'm not sure I've told anyone that before.
I've never heard it before. Thank you, Eddie. I'll keep squeezing if I might.